She found $83 million hidden inside her boss's accounts. And seconds later, he walked into the room.
Working late?
She wasn't supposed to see that file.
Just finishing
Nina
up.
Cole didn't just find missing money. She found $83 million someone had been hiding for years. And the person hiding it was her boss. Nina Cole was a forensic accountant. Her job was simple: find what other people tried to hide. And on a Thursday night in February, she found something she wasn't supposed to. $83 million. Not missing, hidden. Raymond Price had built Apex Capital over 22 years. What started as a small operation had grown into a firm managing billions of dollars in assets. He was known for being sharp, calculated, and extremely careful, because for 6 years he had been moving money no one was supposed to notice. Not stealing it outright, just shifting it, slowly, through a network of accounts designed to stay invisible. Most people would never have found it. But Nina wasn't most people. The money did not disappear. It moved. Through 17 shell companies across 4 countries into accounts that were untraceable to anyone who did not know exactly where to look. Nina knew exactly where to look. And now Garrett was standing in her elevator. Garrett's name was the only thing Nina knew about him. He had worked for Raymond for 3 years. He was always present. He never spoke unless spoken to. He stood near doors and watched rooms in the particular way of someone whose job is to notice everything and act on specific things. He looked at Nina in the elevator. She looked at the floor numbers. The elevator descended. Lobby. And the doors opened. She walked out. He did not follow. She did not run. Running tells people something is wrong. She walked to her car at her normal pace, got in, drove 2 blocks, then pulled over and sat with her hands on the steering wheel for 45 seconds. Then she drove directly to her sister's apartment across the city. She did not go home. Raymond Price made 4 phone calls between midnight and 2 in the morning. The first was to Garrett. The second was to his attorney. The third was to a man whose name does not appear in this story. The fourth was to the head of HR at Apex Capital. Nina Cole received a call the next morning. Her employment had been terminated, effective immediately, unauthorized access to confidential records. She thanked them and ended the call. But Nina had already moved. She had 17 photographs. She backed them up. Multiple accounts, multiple locations. Then she wrote everything down, every detail, every transaction, every account. And she sent it. One email to a federal contact, another to a financial journalist. At the bottom of both messages, one line, "If I do not respond within 72 hours, open everything." She had just started something that could not be stopped. Raymond Price did not know that. Not yet. But he would. And when he did, everything would change. Nina sat in her sister's apartment and thought for 3 hours. Her sister Maya, who knew nothing about what had happened and was told only that Nina needed somewhere to stay, made tea and asked no questions and fell asleep on the sofa at midnight. Nina worked. She had 17 photographs on her phone. She duplicated them to 3 separate cloud accounts, using 3 different email addresses she had created for personal use over the years. She compiled a written summary, precise, dated, referenced, of everything she had found in the Apex Capital accounts over the past 3 weeks. She sent it to 2 email addresses. One was a contact at the Securities and Exchange Commission she had dealt with professionally 4 years earlier. The other was a financial crimes journalist at a national publication who had published 2 previous investigations into private equity fraud. Both emails included the same line at the bottom. "If I do not send a follow-up message within 72 hours, please open the attached documents immediately." Then she put her phone down. She had bought herself 72 hours. She needed to use them correctly. Raymond Price made 4 phone calls between midnight and 2 in the morning. The first was to Garrett. The second was to his attorney. The third was to a man whose name does not appear in this story because he preferred it that way. The fourth was to the head of HR at Apex Capital, who received instructions to prepare Nina Cole's termination paperwork, effective immediately. Cause of termination to be listed as unauthorized access to confidential financial records. Raymond was not panicking. He had been in situations that required rapid management before. What he did not know, could not know, was that Nina had already sent the emails. What he also did not know was that Nina's SEC contact had been building a parallel investigation into Apex Capital for 14 months and had been waiting for exactly the kind of internal documentation that had just landed in his inbox at 1:17 in the morning. He opened the email at 1:23. He forwarded it to his supervisor at 1:31. By 2:15, a senior federal investigator had been woken at home. The next morning, Nina did not go to work. She received a phone call at 8:42 from Apex Capital's HR department, informing her that her employment had been terminated effective immediately due to a breach of confidentiality agreement. She thanked the caller professionally and ended the call. At 9:15, she received a call from a number she did not recognize. It was the SEC investigator. His name was David Chen. He spoke quickly and precisely, and he confirmed he had received her documentation. He told her the information corroborated evidence his team had been assembling independently. He asked if she was in a safe location. She said she was. He told her not to return to her apartment for the next 48 hours. She had already decided that. He told her that federal agents would be visiting Raymond Price's office that afternoon. "How long has this been going on?" she asked. "Your documentation suggests 6 years," he said. "Our investigation suggests longer." She sat with that for a moment. "What happens to me?" she asked. "You found evidence of a federal crime and reported it," he said. "That is not a problem. That is the correct procedure." Federal agents arrived at Apex Capital at 2:47 in the afternoon. There were 11 of them. Raymond Price was in a meeting with 3 portfolio managers when they walked in. His attorney, who had been on standby since 1 in the morning, arrived 12 minutes later. It did not help. The documentation Nina had provided, combined with the 14 months of parallel investigation the SEC team had assembled, produced a case that Raymond Price's attorneys spent 6 minutes reviewing before recommending he say nothing. Garrett was arrested at his apartment 40 minutes later. He had been in the process of leaving. The man whose name does not appear in this story was arrested at an airport 2 hours after that. Raymond Price was charged with securities fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. The charges carried a maximum sentence of 45 years. He was 52 years old. If you are enjoying this story, please like and subscribe to Turning Point Tales for more stories like this every week. Now let us continue. Nina Cole gave testimony to federal investigators over 3 days. She was represented by her own attorney, a woman named Claire who had handled whistleblower cases for 11 years and who described Nina's documentation as the cleanest and most comprehensive she had ever seen in a case of this type. Nina received whistleblower protection status under federal law. She also received, 14 months after the arrest, a whistleblower award from the SEC representing a percentage of the funds recovered in the case. The total funds recovered were $112 million. Nina did not return to corporate forensic accounting. She opened her own practice, a 2-person firm specializing in financial fraud detection for non-profit organizations and public institutions that could not afford the rates of larger firms. She was very good at it. She thought sometimes about Garrett standing in the elevator. That 45-second drive before she pulled over. The decision she made in that moment not to go home, to go to Myers, to send the emails before she did anything else, had been the correct sequence executed in the correct order under significant pressure. She was proud of the sequence, not in a loud way. just quietly, in the way that people are proud of things that actually mattered. Raymond Price pleaded guilty 14 months after his arrest to avoid a trial that his attorneys correctly assessed he would not win, and he received a sentence of 22 years. At 52 years old, that meant he would be 74 before he was eligible for release. Garrett received 8 years for obstruction and conspiracy. The 9 investment portfolios that had been defrauded received full restitution. The investors who had lost money over 6 years received notifications that their funds had been recovered with interest. Most of them had not known the money was gone. Nina Cole had found it before they ever found out. That was the job. She had done it correctly. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to Turning Point Tales. We will see you in the next one.